we know that folks don't care about us until they need us. And we have one man, I've been in business for 10 years, and I've moved his family 10 times. But she said, my son is autistic, he's on the spectrum. And he sat with him for 10 minutes and just talked to him, and they became friends. So that is an organization that I want to be a part of.
Hi, I'm Elaine Zambos, and I am the Executive Director for BNI Southeast Tennessee. Today I have with me Matt Carlson, who's the owner of Boundless Moving and Storage, and Matt has been a BNI member for 10 years. And Matt, you just shared right before we started that you started your business and then just a few months later you joined BNI. So before we get to that story,
okay,
I want to know, as a little boy, did you always want to own a moving and storage company?
As a little boy, I wanted to be a race car driver. And then I wanted to be a police officer. And then I wanted to go in the military. And so I'm 51 right now, and I'm 52.
I'm not going to share what I am.
Honestly, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But for moving and storage, it was actually a relationship. A friend of mine that I had known in college who had done moving in Texas. And we got connected, years later, and he was sharing about his business in Texas and how successful he had been and what he loved about the business and owning a business. And that's what I had wanted. So I wanted to own a business, and for me, it was about the opportunity that, the door that opened for me.
Oh, wow. So this friend in Texas, how did you grew up in Iowa?
I did. I grew up in Iowa, and then I was in the Army, and then I actually got transplanted down to Tennessee. I love the outdoors, and the southeast quarter of Tennessee is just an amazing place for hiking and fishing and running and all sorts of stuff, kayaking on the Ocoee. And so I fell in love with it. I have a sister that lives in Cleveland, Tennessee, and she invited me down when I was going to a state school up in Iowa for college, and came down. I fell in love, said this is where I want to be. And so moved down, finished school at a private college, Lee University in Cleveland, Tennessee, and I met a Cleveland girl, and that wrote the story for Tennessee.
It's always about the girl.
It is.
That's where you end up.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell me, you started your business in 2015.
September of 2015 is when I started the moving company.
And
yes.
you joined BNI in January of 2016.
Exactly. And it
so
was
what was the catalyst there?
Well, it was I wanted to build relationships. When you start a business, and as a business owner, you want to find clients.
Right.
And so for me, it was how do I reach out in the community quickly and build relationships so people even know, who I was and what the moving company was. Who knows, but I still get it today, Boundless Moving and Storage. Oh, we've never heard of you before, And so for me, it was how do I build good, strong, foundational relationships in my community. And a friend of mine had stepped up and said, hey, have you ever heard of BNI? And I said, no, what is it? And so he sort of explained the process and how you come into the chapter and you build relationships, and it's your sales force out in the community. And so for me, that the light went off right then, and I said, that's a chapter, that is an organization that I want to be a part of. So I joined right away, joined in January of 2016, and it's been amazing ever since.
Well, and if I'm correct, not only did you join in 2016, you also have a member in a Cleveland Connection chapter. You have a member in the Accelerate Athens chapter. So BNI, Business Networking International, is not just Cleveland, Athens, Chattanooga. It's all over the world. And I'm assuming that through all of this, you have had moves that have taken you out of the region based on a relationship in BNI.
Nope.
Can you share that with me?
Definitely. And, for us, we, of course, as a moving company, we can go, do local moves and go anywhere in the country. So for us, it's important to be able to build relationships that, we can do that. So we do have multiple members in multiple BNI chapters. As we've grown, our relationships in BNI have grown too. So for us, it's been very good to be able to build, relationships in different chapters. We're getting ready to go to Knoxville, so I'm excited about that. But for us, a lot of times, a lot of the moves we get, I have a realtor in the same BNI with me, and, one time she said, hey, Matt, I have a person that lives in Rhode Island, and she's moving down to Chattanooga. Is there any way that you can actually go up and get her and bring her down? And so I said, well, we'd love to. So, we got the contact information. I talked with the client, and we ended up doing that move from Rhode Island down to Chattanooga. And that actually is pretty commonplace for us now. Because we're in 3 different chapters, we get a lot of referrals that are not local, but they're actually in different states of folks that are moving to Tennessee.
So you mentioned the realtor in your chapter. So she has become a great referral partner for you, it seems like. So what are you looking for in that referral partner?
folks that, and again, I'm looking at it as a moving company, folks that deal in any type of home services, so folks that can connect us to clients that need a move. So for us, having those partners that, number one, want to do one-to-ones, so we get to know them. We are a very relationally based business, and for most folks, when they don't think of moving companies at all until they need a move. Then all of a sudden they go online or they call their friend and say, hey, you just moved a year ago. Who did you use? I need to find a moving company. So, and we know that folks don't care about us until they need us, but that's why we're here, because we want to be able to make their experience and their transition into a new home a stress-free, transition, and we can do that. And so for us, the relationships of having folks in BNI that know who we are, that know the type of business and excellence that we have as far as a standard of excellence in our business, and that we stand behind our work is very important, because when that person asks their friend, says, do you know somebody, then usually that chapter member can say, I know a guy, and they actually will say, hey, I know somebody, I can get you in contact with him today.
So BNI hosts a International Networking Week. So it's the first week of February every year, huge week, my favorite week out of the year, and we're doing all kinds of events, right? We're everywhere. And I'm hosting a speed networking event for the Chamber of Commerce, and you were there.
Yes.
And I didn't know you were coming, so it was nice to see you there. But there was a lady sitting next to you, and when she found out you were from Boundless, she almost teared up. Would you mind sharing with us what happened during that? She was so excited to meet you and see you.
Oh, definitely. Actually, I had never met her before, but she actually ended up being one of our clients, and we didn't know we were sitting at the same table together. That's great with speed networking. You get to know people really quickly, and so I had last minute come to the event. I'd had a coffee with somebody else, and they said, "Hey, come to this chamber event." We went, and then we did speed networking. So we were changing tables, we sat down, and we were actually talking about it. She met me and she said, what's your name? I said, Matt Carlson from Boundless Moving and Storage. And you're right, she almost teared up, and she goes, I love you guys. My family loves you guys. And I'm like, okay. Well, what's going on? She goes, we're a client. You moved us. And so I'm still like, okay, good, but she said, my son is autistic. He's on the spectrum. And he was really nervous about having new folks that he didn't know come into his home. And we were having a real issue that morning calming him down. Well, when my crew got there, the crew lead came in and introduced himself to the son. And she said he sat with him for 10 minutes and just talked to him, and they became friends. And she said, and that changed my son's whole personality, the whole day. He had a best friend. And she said, I can't thank you enough, because that was the stress point for us when we were moving. It wasn't the furniture. It wasn't, we had to get out of the house by a certain time. It was about my son. Right. And so she said, I can't thank you enough that your crew was able to come in, and your crew lead, who's the boss basically, cared enough and took the time to build that relationship, because it made the rest of the day so much better.
Matt, I love that story. And while you were sharing that with me, it reminded me of a book that I've read recently, and it's called Exceptional Hospitality.
Yes. And
have you read it? Because it's amazing. So it talks about the difference between service and hospitality, and hospitality is how you make people feel. You did not make them feel like a client. You didn't make them feel like, hey, I got to get in here, get out of here, get this stuff over because we're on a tight schedule. Like, you develop that relationship. A
lot of times with our moves, they are so there's so much stuff you have to do, and there's so much stress involved for buying and selling houses, or you're moving across country, or you're donating to different parts of the family, and so there's just a lot that's involved, and people can get really stressed out. So for us, if we do our job and we do it the right way, by the time that move is over, a lot of times we're family. And so you're going through this stressful process, and our job is to take that stress away so the family can focus on the family, and sort of, if we move into a new home, it's usually it's bigger, it's something that it's their dream home, and so they're excited about it, but there's so many moving parts that we want to be able to come in as a moving company and take away all that stress and really make the transition in a way a lot simpler and easier for the family. And when we do it the right way, by the end of the day, or the end of, it could be a 2-week project depending on the size of the move. Well, a lot of times we're family just because of what we go through with the family.
Well, and I have to believe that if any situation that family decides to move, or they're in a conversation with somebody else who's going to move, you're going to be the ones that they recommend.
We're excited about it, and we're excited about our clients, and we have so much repeat business, and that actually makes me really, I guess, excited, satisfied, gratified that we will move people, and they will call us two years later and say, we didn't want to move, and we didn't want to call you, but hey, we got to move again. So, come move our family. We have one man, I've been in business for 10 years, and I've moved his family 10 times.
Oh my
and
goodness.
so I give him a discount now because he refers himself and his family all the time. And we've moved him from New York to Tennessee, his family all over the place. It's pretty amazing. But, that part of the job, that part of what we do is honestly, it's the best.
So when you started in 2015, was it you in a truck, or how'd this, because now it sounds like there's a whole bunch of trucks out here.
We do
storage
have
facilities.
We have storage now, which complements our moving company. We have multiple locations. We have an incredible staff, and we have a great leadership team. And I was just talking to somebody about it yesterday. That is really the culture of who we are. Really is a part of our DNA of how we take care of people. That starts in the office every morning at 7 a.m. And so for us, it's about our people, and it's about the clients, but it's about our people and making sure that we take care of our people, we take care of our staff. And that's how we've grown, because when I had a guy walk in yesterday, he was just got off a job. He said, my cousin's going to call you. And I was like, oh, okay, who's your cousin? And he said, this is her name, and she needs a move, and she's moving to South Carolina. And I said, do you want to be on the job? He said, yep, okay, let's do it. So that's really cool, because it's just, my guys, they're full-time, professionally trained. They live down the street from you. The wife, kids, my guys work for us full time, and they love their jobs.
So share with me, as you look at BNI, and I heard you, I didn't miss that you said you're going to be moving to Knoxville, so yeah. I can hook you up.
Okay.
But share with me, what does that look like for you as a partner with BNI, which I appreciate so much, but what does that look like for you to continue to grow outside of, Chattanooga, Cleveland, Athens? But what does that look like, and how can BNI help you do that?
Well, just like day one, when we go to Knoxville, it's going to be day one for us in Knoxville. And we're not going to know a lot of people, so we won't have that foundation, those relationships. And so one of the most important parts for us is getting connected to the right BNI chapter that can instantly help build that foundation, those relationships. So whoever I put in that chapter in Knoxville, day one, they're going to be up there knocking on other members' doors in BNI saying, I want to get to know you. Again, for our business, it's not about getting a job and then going on to the next job. Right. It's about building long-term relationships so we can succeed in the location we're at. So in Knoxville, same thing. It's being able to get into a chapter where our folks can connect with the other members in those chapters and actually do one-to-ones. For me, one-to-ones, people preached it on day one when I first got to BNI, but it's one of the most critical things you do, is just get to know the person that's at the table, the BNI member that's right next to you. You have to do that. Once you get to know them and they understand you and they drink the Kool-Aid, then they're gonna preach it to other people and say, you need to use this moving company.
Right. So you keep mentioning one-to-ones, and I'm so thankful that you call it a one-to-one and not a one-on-one. So thank you for that. That's my biggest pet peeve in BNI. Yep. But you keep mentioning these one-to-ones. What's a one-to-one? Not everyone knows what that is.
So you're in a chapter, or you join a chapter, and you want to get to know the other members of the chapter, because you really need to understand who they are, what their business is, so you can explain to other folks that have that need. But a one-to-one is when you can sit down with somebody and say, I'm a mover and you're a plumber, and we're both in the same BNI chapter. Let's get to know each other's business so we can understand what we need and the type of clients that we want to go after, or clients that work well for our business. So as a mover, not every person that's moving is going to be my client.
Sure.
Okay? And so when I talk to other BNI other BNI members, we talk about that, and we talk about the types of clients that I want as a mover, the types of clients that fit what we do, if it's full service or if it's just a labor job, what that looks like. So the one-to-ones make that happen. They make the relationships grow. So 6 months in, a year in, I can refer 5 jobs to the plumber, because I know the plumber's going to call them the next day, going to get that job done, and that client's going to call me and say, you have a really good Rolodex. Well, maybe not that anymore. They would probably say, hey, you have a really good iPhone with a lot of contacts in it, so it works well.
So a one-to-one, earlier you had mentioned, this is my sales force. And so what I'm hearing you say is that during this one-to-one is when you're really training that person to find the perfect client.
Exactly.
So it's like hosting your sales meeting with your staff to say, okay, these are our prospects this week. This is who we need to be talking to. And so those are the types of things you're talking about in your one-to-one.
So specific is terrific.
Specific is
and
terrific.
so when we do one-to-ones, it's great to say, I need to know somebody from this university because we can do the moves for the students there. You know, I need to know somebody from this hospital because they're doing a lot of growing and moving. We want to be able to get connected with them so we can do those moves. I want to know somebody from this big corporate, entity because they're doing a lot of executive moves, So for us, it's being able to say, this is what we need. And so when you're in BNI and you can make that request and it's very specific, it really helps get those relationships.
So you just gave me a little bit of a mind blow. I look at you as business to consumer. That you're just talking to homeowners, realtors who are moving homeowners. But in every one of those examples, you were just talking about business to business. And so I want to invite you to our business to business boot camp.
Okay.
You were part of our blue collar boot camp, which I was super excited about, but I never even thought of you in that realm because that's a whole different sales pitch.
It is. And so a good example of another story that went really, really well, and it was with another chapter. It was a member that needed, he was running a mattress store, and they had like 12 or 13 different locations, and they wanted to get a connection to a local university because there's dormitories there. Well, as a mover, I was doing a lot of moves for faculty and staff, so I was very connected to the university. So he said, Matt, who do you know at the university that could, how can we get connected? Because, a dormitory is going to have 300 beds. We can make the beds locally. We can sell them the beds locally. We can all keep it in the community. And I said, let me make a phone call. So I made a phone call and I called him back and said, okay, we have a meeting next week with the physical plant director. Well, guess what happened? The mattress company got that business, got a big book of business from that local university. And that's great business to business, sales.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You have made their year. You made their year. If they sold it.
He took me to lunch at Chick-fil-A, so apparently we did really, really good. So.
I hope you got more than some nuggets.
my kids, that would have been the dream for them. That's what they want every day. So,
Matt, thank you so much. So as we close up, what can I do to help you?
Oh, wow. Is just tell people about Boundless. Now, you know what? You said it already. You said you're going to make a call to Knoxville because we're getting ready to expand to Knoxville. And just investing in us in Knoxville would be huge for our business.
Okay, we can do it. Matt, thank you. Thank you for being here. I know there's a lot of places you could have been today, and I appreciate you sitting down and talking with me today.
No better place than here.
Aw.
Thank you.
Thank you.